Hi, Lloyd Rieber here with a 5-minute design example that I think would be of interest to professionals working in the field of learning, design, and technology. This example has to do with writing. As any professional in LDT, it's very important to be able to communicate clearly to your audiences, whether they be fellow designers or clients or students. And so being able to write well, I think, is very important. So I'd like us to consider an article that I found that is written in, let's just say, the genre of postmodernism. The title is The Dialectic of Reality, Cultural Rationalism and Dialectic Marxism by I guess, Professor Rudolph Tilton from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. And let's just read maybe the first two paragraphs and just think to yourself if you are understanding what the article is basically about. So let's just take a look here. So I guess section 1, context of paradigm. Class is fundamentally dead, says Derrida. If dialectic Marxism holds, we have to choose between cultural rationalism and neo-cultural narrative. However, the example of dialectic Marxism, which is a central theme of Stone's Heaven and Earth, is also evident in Natural Born Killers. And you can read the next paragraph or so, but I think that's good enough for my purposes here, because what I want you to ask yourself is, do you get maybe the gist of what this article is saying? And if you say, well, I don't really know much about this isn't necessarily the field of LDT, but I think I understand something about what they're trying to say, but not really. Well, I have a little secret to reveal at this particular point. And the secret is simply that this is an article about nonsense. Now, I'm not being a critic or being critical of the article or the professor. It's just that I happen to know this is basically a randomly composed article. There is an algorithm that is at work here. And if you don't like this article, well, I can just go ahead and do a refresh, and it will on the spot write another article for me. This one's called Cultural Narrative in the Works of Spelling. And if I were to come down here, again, I could read the first paragraph or two, and it sort of reads like it kind of would make sense if I understood it. but it is nonsense. And it is to get across the point that many times writing can be so obtuse that the reader is confused, or worse yet, intimidated. Imagine yourself, and I'm sure I've had this experience, and maybe you have too, that when I don't understand an article, I usually begin to put the blame on me that, well, I'm just not well read enough, or I'm not smart enough, or maybe I'm just not far along in my studies, and therefore the problem is mine. And there may be some expertise that is needed, in course, in any one article. But I would say it's up to the author to write clearly to the point that it is something that can be approached by someone who is interested in the topic. And I do take issue, quite frankly, with the postmodern type of article, which I must admit I've tried to read some, and they kind of read like this nonsense one that I have here in front of us. I'll put the link to this little article generator from elsewhere.org in the description to this video. But I find it a very interesting design of writing to help us understand that writing should be clear. And it reminds me when I was a very small child, I guess probably a toddler. I was going to our neighborhood Catholic church, and I was so impressed with the priest in that I just thought he talked so fast. I had no idea what he was saying, but it was so impressive, and I was, of course, in a place of awe and wonder. It wasn't until later that I learned that the priest was actually speaking in Latin. So let's all vow to try to write as clearly as possible and not make the reader think that they're either reading Latin or nonsense.